Hi, this is Kevin. Welcome to my tutorial on installing PyCharm Professional on macOS. In this tutorial is intended for the use of the students who are in my Python course at the University of Illinois School of Information Sciences. And so my comments are really going to be geared to that audience. And if you're a YouTuber who found your way here, you're welcome to stay, but keep the focus of this content in mind. So here's what we're going to go over. Uh, First, we're going to make sure that a copy of macOS is up to date. Then we're going to address the question, what if you already have some version of PyCharm already installed? What to do? Okay. Uh, we're going to talk about how to get a JetBrains free educational license, which we can use for PyCharm Professional Edition. We're going to download the JetBrains toolbox, which will allow us to install all the JetBrains tools easily. We're only going to install PyCharm Professional Edition, but you can install more. We're going to install the toolbox. Then with the toolbox installed, we're going to install a PyCharm Professional. I'm going to show you how you would update PyCharm Professional. And if it turns out that you already have the toolbox installed and you already had PyCharm Professional installed, I'll show you where to look to apply updates. And the very last thing, we're going to create a test PyCharm project and a program within it, so we can show that we succeeded at this activity. So let's begin by making sure that macOS is up to date. Okay, so here we are. We're in a macOS virtual machine. I'm using macOS 12.5. It's a virtual machine, so I can show you how to install things on a machine that doesn't already have them installed. How do you find out what version of the software you have and whether it needs updates applied? Well, go up to the left-hand corner and click on the Apple, and then pick About This Mac. Okay, and then you can see here that I've got macOS Monterey version 12.5. And there's a button for software updates. If we click that, it's going to tell me if I need an update. And if I needed one, then there'd be a button to download and install it. But as you can see, mine is already up to date. Okay. If yours isn't, well, this is a good time to bring it up to date. Students that come to me with problems that they have in installing software or getting it to run after they installed it. And a lot of times their problem is simply that they just don't have an up-to-date operating system. Okay, so we're going to want you to do that. So we can close out of that. Okay, so what to do if you already have some version of PyCharm installed? Okay, well, we're going to install and use PyCharm Professional Edition. There are three versions of PyCharm. There's Professional Edition, there's the educational version, which is called PyCharm Edu, and then there's the uh, community edition. Um, the paid version that has all the features that we're going to need for this course is a PyCharm Professional Edition. We're going to install it in a particular way using this thing called the JetBrains Toolbox. Okay. If you already have the JetBrains Toolbox installed, well, fine. We'll eventually come along and we'll do the update. So if you installed the toolbox and you've also installed PyCharm Professional, well, then just kind of hang on and follow along till we get to the update. But if you have another version installed, well, just leave it there. Or if you have PyCharm Professional installed, but you didn't install it with the toolbox, well, just leave that there too. And follow along with us so we can get everybody in the class in the same position with respect to this particular software. Okay. Now the next thing is we need to get a JetBrains free educational license. So how are we going to do that? Well, in your weekly schedule somewhere, there'll be an activity. This is the one from the course I taught in the summer. There's a link here, JetBrains free individual licenses for students and faculty members. So if you click on this, okay, you'll see free educational licenses. And essentially, they'll give us a free educational license as long as we have a university email address. Okay, that's they give it to us for like 1 year at a time, and when you go to renew, you still have to have that university email address. So if you scroll down, not quite to the bottom, there's an Apply Now button. And you get a form that comes up where you say, I'm a student or I'm a teacher, what level, what, what's your major, what's your email address, and it needs to be a .edu email, your real name, some other kinds of things, and you apply for free products. You should get a response email pretty quickly. Okay, I remember getting mine the same day. There was a time when there was a little delay, but you should get it pretty quickly. Okay. In fact, you might get it immediately. I can't do it and test it out because I already have one. Okay, so that's where you go and how you apply. Okay, so let's say that now we've gotten our free educational license from the good folks at JetBrains. Okay, now we need to download this piece of software called the JetBrains Toolbox. So let's figure out how to do that. Okay, so let's pop up the browser here. We're going to use Safari, and let's go to their website, JetBrains, all one word.com. Okay, and when we get an educational license, we get the opportunity to create an account at JetBrains.com, and right now we're going to need to log into that. So we're going to click on the person icon, and we get the login. And I'm going to type in my university email address. And you would type in yours. And I'm going to type in the password. Okay. And we're getting close here. And normally I wouldn't tell a browser to save the password. What I'm going to need it again, and I can't copy paste it because I'm working in two different machines. So again, I'm not going to recommend that you do this, but I'm going to do it. Going to save the password. So I have licenses that I've used over the years. I guess the first the product I used on one of these educational licenses was called RubyMine. That's way back in 2014. Okay, and this JetBrains product pack I've been renewing for years and years and years. Right now, mine is renewed through the end of January 2023. And typically, when you're getting close to the expiration date, you can just kind of reapply, and they'll extend it. And again, the key thing is, do you still have a university email address? Okay, so if you want to just install a particular product, all right, and not include this JetBrains toolbox, you could click on the product, but we're not going to do that. Instead, right under the title, there's a link for download. So click on that and you get a list of products, but at the very bottom is get the toolbox app. So click on toolbox app. And we can hear my grandson up in the kitchen uh, having some bad behavior. I apologize for that. Okay, so uh, here we're going to download the .dmg. So we're going to download, and we're going to allow. Okay. And now we're going to go to downloads. And you can see it here at JetBrains toolbox. And we're just going to, double click. So we double click it, and I'm going to grab this JetBrains toolbox icon on the left and drag it over the application folder and drop it. And I'm going to pause and see if I can quiet my grandson. I'll be back. All right. Well, my grandson Jack is now out the door, apparently, and it's peaceful here at Casa Trainer, so we're going to start again. So the last thing that we did is that we dragged the toolbox icon into the applications folder. So that should have installed it. Okay. Now, how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to, while we're in the Finder, let's click on Applications. And there under J is JetBrains Toolbox. We're going to double click it and agree to open it. And we're going to click on Continue. And I'll check the box that we will send them anonymous statistics. And we'll click on Accept. And I'll take the default configuration and click on Get Started. Okay. And it says that you find your tool in this list, so we're going to click on Got It. And right here is PyCharm Professional. Now, I told you that there are three versions of PyCharm. We're going to install PyCharm Professional. There is a PyCharm community, which is the free version. A PyCharm Professional has the most capability and is the paid version. It's free to us as long as we're at the university. PyCharm Community has fewer features, but it's free all the time. And then if we come down, there's a PyCharm Edu. Okay, and it's free as well and has some kind of learning management features that I don't find appealing. But of course, it doesn't have all the features that we need either. You can have all three of these installed at the same time. There are three distinct products. If you install all three of them from the toolbox here, you'll get three installed products. You can run them. I'm only going to recommend at this point that you install PyCharm Professional. Okay. There are some other products too. IntelliJ IDEA is in an IDE, an integrated development environment for Java. DataSpell is some kind of an IDE for data scientists that does some work with Jupyter notebooks, and I've not had an opportunity to check that out. WebStorm is for some web development. There's a whole bunch of things here, right? Okay. Again, all we're going to do is we're going to go to PyCharm Professional, come over to Install, and click the button. Okay. I'm going to clear this message up here. And what happens is the things that you install wind up on a short list at the top. Okay. And you can watch them install. They install fairly quickly on my machine, which is a pretty fast machine. At least I'm going to claim that. Okay, so now I'm just going to click the button for got it. And this is it. So remember how I said I would tell you how to do an update? Oh, okay. If you have PyCharm Professional installed, okay, whatever products you have installed will be on this installed short list. And if there is an update to install them, just like we have these install buttons, you'll see a button for update right here. Okay. And then you click on update and you'll watch it update just like we just saw the install. And you'll be done. And I think if there's more than one thing to update, there's a link for update all. And every once in a while we get a new version of the toolbox, and you'll get a link up here in this kind of title area to update the toolbox. Okay. And that is that. Okay. Now, what if you wanted to open up a toolbox again? Well, it turns out if you look up in this menu area off to the right, you typically have things that are loaded all the time, and JetBrains Toolbox is loaded all the time. It has an icon that looks like a cube, and if you click on it, it pops up the window that we just saw. Now, we currently don't have a link to PyCharm Professional down in the dock. So let's click on the name of the application in Toolbox. That will open it. and you can see the icon popping up down here on the dock. Okay, and it's going to pop up a dialog box pretty soon. Okay, and so let's say I'm going to agree to send anonymous statistics. Okay, and then I'm going to say do not import any settings. I don't have any to import. And now that's going to start up. The version that we're using is 2022.2. In a given year, they have 2 or 3 versions. So this is the second full version that came out this year. And we have all kinds of things having to do with licensing. But before we do that, before we forget, let's go down to the dock. Okay, hover over the icon for PyCharm Professional. Right click and choose Options, Keep in Dock. Okay, so now it's always going to be there in the dock and easy to start. Okay, and the easiest way for them to see a license is to log in to our JetBrains account. So let's click this button. Okay, now one of the reasons why I saved the login information is I have to log in again. Now, saving your login information in your browser is not the most secure thing to do on my machine when I'm not inside of a virtual machine. I've got a password manager application that I use, but here I'm going to take the easy way out and just sign in again. And it was able to check and see that I had a license, and it's successful, and it tells me that I can close the page. Okay, and now I can just click in the lower right on exit. Okay, and I should be okay. All right, so I'm going to close all these things, and you can see I have my PyCharm icon down in the dock. So let's give it a click, and it should be firing up PyCharm Professional, and it did. And here we go. We're ready to start our first project. Okay, so later on, when you're getting ready to do the first coding assignment for the class, I'll give you more specific instructions about where to keep particular directories and all that kind of stuff. But for now, okay, let's just create a test project. Let's say we're here. Okay, so we installed PyCharm Professional. We saw how we would update if there was a pending update, and now we're just going to create our test PyCharm project. Okay, I've just made a rather abrupt cut in the content here because it's now spring 2023, and the way you start up and configure a Python project using PyCharm Professional, some of the configuration things have recently changed. They changed right around at the end of 2022. So what I did is I took the video that I had from before and I cut it off, and now we're going to test this install by creating our first PyCharm project the new way to make sure that it really matches what you've installed and what you're going to be using. Okay? Just to give you a little bit of tour of where I am. Okay? I've updated a couple of things. So if I go to applications and I start Anaconda Navigator, which I should have in my doc, but somehow I lost that. So let me see if I can get that in my doc too. Yeah, keep it in doc. Okay. So if we go look at the environments we have here, um, I have this E4 Trainer Django course. And the Python that I'm using is even more recent than the one I was using in the video as it started, because right now 3.10.8 is available. And for our course, either 3.10.4 or 3.10.8 or both going to work just fine. But that's what I have here. So if you see 3.10.8 come up, then you're going to know that that's how that happened. I just updated my tools. What did I update? Well, I updated Anaconda just like I showed you um, in the video on how to update, how to install Anaconda. I showed you how to update Anaconda. And when I updated Anaconda, then I got this new version of Python. Okay, so that's how I got that. Uh, I'm going to quit that application. Um, Likewise, if you look at the PyCharm that I have, if I go to um, the JetBrains toolbox and you look at the version of PyCharm Professional that I have 2022.3.1. That's what you install when you get right now. And that's the one that has this new behavior. Okay, the one that we had last fall kind of worked the same way things had worked for several years. Okay. So if you don't have this installed, if you come up here to JetBrains toolbox and you see the opportunity to update that, then certainly update it, because then you'll be looking at the version that I'm looking at here. Okay. All right. So now all I want to do is to create my first PyCharm Python project and prove that the installation for PyCharm has actually worked. So I've got the PyCharm icon. Oh, I want to point out one other thing that has changed. When I was talking to you about what versions of PyCharm you could install, I said that there were three versions of PyCharm. There was PyCharm Professional, which is the one that we're going to use. There's PyCharm Community Edition, which is the one that I don't recommend. And there was another one that I was not going to recommend called PyCharm Edu. Well, it turns out that third one has been discontinued. So you may still be able to install it, but they're not issuing updates for it anymore. It's going to go out of support. So you definitely want PyCharm Professional. Okay. So we're going to start up PyCharm Professional right here. And it probably looks a little different than it looked before. And we want to click on New Project. Okay. And it's pointing us to the directory in my home directory. It has created PyCharm projects, and then within that, it wants to call this Python project, which is just kind of a generic name, so we don't want that. Okay, and whatever name we're going to use, it should be in this so-called snake case. All lowercase letters, words separated by underscores. That's what the Pythonistas call snake case. Okay, so I'm just going to call this first 2023 test project, because I don't think I have one that's already called that. Okay. Now, I'm not ready yet. Okay. Uh, do I want to create a main.py welcome script? No, I don't. I want to keep that unchecked because that's a nuisance that we don't really need. Do we want to pick which Python interpreter we're going to use? Yes, we do. This is the easiest place to do it. So if we click on this little triangle, it will drop down, okay? And we can either, and what we're going to do is we're going to pick the virtual environment that we created previously called E4 Trainer Python course, okay? And we don't want the first radio button. We don't want to create a new virtual env. We want a previously configured one. So we want to click that radio button. And it turns out right here, I can already see this E4 Train Your Python course. Okay, so I could just accept that and click create, but I'm not going to do that because maybe you don't see that on your machine yet. Okay, so assuming that you don't have it, then I'm going to click on this add interpreter. That's where you would go. And we would pick the first option, add local interpreter. And now this is a little bit repetitive, but we want to pick Conda environment over here in the left-hand panel. Okay. And we want to pick one of the environments. I only have a little bit of experience with this, but I think it helps if you click on this button that says load environments. So I do that and it appears to go look for them. Okay. And then I guess we could go down here, use existing environment. We could look at this and you can see how these are already picked. Okay, so again, I would pick just E4 Trainer Python course and I'd be done here. But maybe when you come down here, you don't see that option yet. Okay, if you don't, click up here under this drop down for Conda executable. Click on the right side of this box, and it will take you to kind of the file finder dialog. Okay, and here we are. We're down in this kind of set of Anaconda directories. It wants to point at conda bin. Okay, that's not where we keep our virtual envs. We keep ours in envs. So highlight envs. Okay. And then you can see that the one we're looking for, E4 Trainer Python course, you can see it's here. Okay, so highlight it, but we're not done yet. Okay, it pops up another column, and now we actually have to point it to the Python, to Python Excel itself. So we have to choose the bin subdirectory, and of course that pops up another column. And now we're finally in the list we're going to pick from. So scroll down, and this populates a little slow because I'm on a virtual machine. Yours will probably go faster. And we want plain Python. Okay, just Python. We're almost there. Okay, so we don't want this PyDoc stuff. We want this thing that is called Python. Okay, now could you have chosen Python 3 or Python 3.10? Possibly, but the right answer is Python. Okay, and now it's showing you that well, it says it's a file alias, so it's actually a pointer to the right version of Python. That's why we pick it. Okay. And now we can just click on open, okay, and click on OK, okay, and you can see here now we picked this E4 Trainer Python course. Now, again, when you're doing this and the virtual env that you want is in the drop-down list, then you just pick the one in the drop-down list. But the very first time, it may not be in the drop-down list, which is why we clicked on Add Interpreter and went out and did all that stuff. Okay. Again, we don't want this create the main.py welcome script, and we want to click on Create. All right, there we go. And if you look down in the lower right, you'll see a couple of things. One, you'll see that there's a bunch of stuff being loaded. Okay, that's the stuff from our virtual env. And if you look over on the right hand side, you can see that the interpreter that we're using is Python 3.10, and it's in the virtual env in E4 Trainer Python course. That's the one that you want. Okay. Now, let's say it said the wrong thing. Let's say we accidentally had picked the wrong one. Okay. One we'd use for another course, or one that we were just experimenting with. Well, one of the ways to choose the proper interpreter and virtual env combination is to click in this little window here in the lower right, and it'll give you the chance to pick. So again, you can pick from the list, or you can click Add New Interpreter. Okay, so and that would bring up a dialog where you'd be able to make the choices that we made before. If you can't do this or can't see it or something, there's a third way to do this, which is to go up to the menu and click on PyCharm. Okay. And one of the interesting things is up until just a month or so ago, when you were using PyCharm on macOS and you clicked on PyCharm in the menu, the way that you configured things is you picked preferences. And that was different from the Windows version. In the Windows version, it was called settings. Well, now they've decided they're going to be called the same thing. So here, even in the macOS version, it's called settings. So we pick on that. So we pick that. Okay. And then how do you get to the dialog that we care about here? We'll go a little bit more than halfway down and expand project. Okay. And what we're doing is picking the Python interpreter. So click on that. Okay. And now you get out to the dialog here. Now, if you pick the right one, it's going to show you all the packages that you picked. That's great. And you can pick from the drop-down list here. Again, the one that we want is right here. But if you don't see the one that you want, you're able to go out and to go through the dialogues. Again, you're able to pick Add Interpreter, Add Local Interpreter, and so on. Okay? So that's all slightly different than it was 2 months ago. It's not particularly hard, but I wanted to give you a fresh video where you'd be able to recognize all the parts. Okay, so all we're going to do now is to write the simplest of Python programs in order to show that we can make a Python program work. Okay, so here we've got the name of our project. You see there's a little folder icon. So this is the directory that is our project. So we highlight that, right click, and pick New Python file. Okay, and then we just have to type in the name of the program. And the name of the program that I like to use is, traditionally, the first thing you teach students to do is Hello World. Okay, well, that gets kind of old. So I've decided that mine's going to be a little more cynical or depressed, and mine's going to be goodbye, cruel world. Okay, so this is going to be a 3-word name in snake case. So all lowercase, words separated by underscore. So goodbye underscore cruel underscore world. Okay. And because it knows it's a Python file, we don't have to put on the .py. We just press enter. Okay. It creates the file under our project. Okay. And opens the editor. Okay. One of the things we're going to learn in the course is that even though in our textbook, the Zell textbook, he tends to put a comment with the name of the file at the top of the file, it turns out that that's just the things that old college professors and textbook authors do. It's not a thing that real Python programmers do. But real Python programmers typically include a documentation string on line 1 called a doc string. And typically they begin with 3 double quotes. So quote mark, quote mark, quote mark. And as soon as you type in those 3, it gives you the closing 3. And now you can simply type what you're going to do. And I would say this is a test program that prints, that prints a 1-line message. And it's implicitly a full sentence, so I'm going to give it a period. Okay? And now I'm going to give us 2 blank lines. There's always 2 blank lines before every function. In our programs, we're going to put all of our code except for 1 line. We're going to put it inside some function or other. And the top level function is going to be called main. So here we're going to build the main function. So we say def, D-E-F, space main, M-A-I-N, parentheses, and right after the parens is a colon, okay? And then on the next line, indented, the editor automatically indents for us, we're going to have just 1 line of code, print. So we're going to type in print and then left paren, okay? And then inside the paren, a character string that begins with a single quote or apostrophe, okay? And we're going to say goodbye, comma, cruel world, exclamation. Okay? All right, we have that. Then we're going to get out to the end of the line. We're going to ask for 2 blank lines because that's every function that we create, including the main function, needs to be preceded by 2 blank lines and followed by 2 blank lines. That's the Python style. Okay? So unless we want a PyCharm to warn us that we're not following the Python style rules, we're going to do that. And then the very last line that we have here over in column 1, we're just going to call main. We do that by typing in main and then parens. And you'd think that you'd be done, but we're not. We need to have a carriage returner enter at the very end of that line. It seems to create a new line. It looks like we have a blank line 9. In some senses, we do, but that's really just the line feed that's at the line end of line 8. And again, that's part of the Python style guide. Okay? So that should do the whole thing right there. Now, if you look in the upper right corner, there's a green check. So PyCharm, when we type in a program in the editor like we have here, and when we follow all the rules of syntax and style, it's going to give us a green check to say everything's okay. All right, and in a minute, I'll show you what would have happened if everything wasn't okay. Okay, so how are we going to run this? Well, here's what we do. We click somewhere in the editor window. We probably want to click off of this line 9 because in the PyCharm editor, you never have to tell it explicitly to save a file as long as you click off the line that you're on. Okay? When you click on another line, the editor goes, oh, things have changed. I'm going to save the file. Okay? So you could have gone up and said file, save as, or, well, it's not giving us the save because it's already saved it. Okay, you could have come up here and said file save, but no, the real thing that real PyCharm users do is they remember to click off the last line they were working on. Usually on a blank line so you don't accidentally change your code. Okay, so now that's been saved. Now click somewhere in this editor window, right click, and then say run goodbye cruel world, and it pops up a window down in the bottom, and it's kind of emulating what would have happened if we had run this program at the command line, and the output is goodbye cruel world. So that's it. It worked. Okay. Now, what would this have looked like if we had made errors? Okay. All right. Style errors. All right. What if we didn't leave 2 blank lines before the function main? What if we only left 1? Okay, now we get the squiggly underline here. Okay. And if we click on a blank line and it saves it, you'll see, oh, now we have one warning up here, 1 week warning. Violations of the style guide give us these weak warnings, okay? And we don't want any in our course. Well, your team isn't going to want you to have any, okay? All right, now if we hover over the line with the squiggly, it says PEP8, that's the name of the style guide. Expected 2 blank lines, found 1. Oh, forgot a blank line, just add 1. Okay, that went away. And if we click on a blank line here, our green check mark should come back. Okay, what if I forgot the 2 blank lines after the main function? Well, the same thing will happen. Okay, so down here, it's going to say for the code that's called a main that that it expected 2 blank lines before it, and it found 1. And again, if we click off that line and trigger a save, we'll see up here, oh, we've got 1 week warning. All right. All right. Now let's just add that blank line back. Okay. And click on another line to save the file. And here's our green check. And last but not least, if we don't have just 1 blank line or just a line feed at the end of the call to main, we're going to get a, and let's click off to save that. We're going to get another week warning. And there's a squiggly here. It's just very, very, very small. If you get over that squiggly, it says, PEP8, no new line at end of file. So a Python file should end with just a new line. Okay, so enter. You got a new line, so that solved that, but we need to click on another line, preferably a blank one, and trigger a save before we get the green check mark. Okay, and again, so every time we run the program, okay, let's say we're working with this okay, and we don't have that window up where we run the program. The easiest way to get it up is, again, to right click in the editor window and pick run goodbye cruel world. Okay. Now, let's say that you had some error and you wanted to run it again. Let's say we misspelled cruel. We spelled it CROOL. Okay. And all right. Once you run it the first time, even if you change the code, if you click off the line in order to get the code to save, then if you come down here and click on the little play button on the left, it will play the new version. So you'll go, oh, that's a mistake. I need to go. And interestingly, you get a green squiggly underline on misspellings. How about that? And we change that to cruel world, click off that line, and then we come and we click the play button again, and goodbye cruel world. That's what we want. So I'll be showing you more in terms of tutorial help when we begin to do the exercises that we do for the coding assignments. But this is an introduction to how to use PyCharm for a Python program. And it's enough to get you started. So I'm going to finish up here and say bye until next time. Bye-bye.